Being a nurse practitioner student can be very stressful. Not only nurse practitioner schools can be demanding, but many students also have duties other than being students, such as working and being parents. On top of that, international students have additional stress such as language and cultural barriers and anxiety related to uncertainty about visa situation. Also, the financial burden of paying tuition can be very stressful for both American and international students. I myself was an international student when I went to a nurse practitioner program and felt the stress firsthand. In this episode, I will talk about 4 ways to manage stress as a nurse practitioner student. Aloha! I'm Miki Miura, a family nurse practitioner in Hawaii. I've been a nurse practitioner for 10 years, and I absolutely love being a nurse practitioner and the lifestyle that Korea has given me. My passion is mentoring nurse practitioner students and new grad nurse practitioners to build amazing careers so that they can have the freedom of choice on what they want to do and how they want to live. Alright, let's get into it. Being a nurse practitioner student isn't easy. In fact, it's really hard. I don't want to discourage you if you're thinking of becoming a nurse practitioner in America, because becoming a nurse practitioner in America was the best decision I ever made in my life. And I'll do it in a heartbeat. But being a nurse practitioner student and starting a practice as a new grad was extremely stressful. During the master's program, I worked at an outpatient clinic during the day for 20 hours a week because I was here with a student visa, and that's the maximum number of hours I could work. My English was still not that great because it was just 2 years after I moved to the US, and there were many medical terms I had to learn. And on top of that, learning to become a nurse practitioner was a lot. It's different from being a nurse. I had to learn how to diagnose, making decisions on treatments, also going to different clinical sites and learning a variety of clinical fields as a family nurse practitioner was a lot. So as you can imagine, I was under a lot of pressure. But I was able to manage it fairly well and got good grades. So in this episode, I will share 4 ways to manage stress that worked for me. The first tip is to plan out your schedule as early as possible. If I'm honest with you, I was still learning to do this during master's program, and finally, I mastered it when I was in DNP program. It took years to realize the importance of good planning because nobody really told me. That's why I'm sharing this with you so you don't have to wait a lot of time to figure this out. And this can greatly reduce your stress. So this is how you do. When a new semester starts, look at the syllabus carefully and note all the important dates, like when to submit assignments. Then I plan to submit assignments at least a few days earlier than the actual due dates. This is because there can be unexpected events like you get sick. Worrying about whether you can submit your assignments on time or not can be very stressful. So I anticipated some unexpected events and plan to submit my assignments a few days earlier. Once I decide on when to submit my assignments, then I schedule my appointments with writing tutors. This is all happening at the beginning of semester. And this is a good strategy because writing tutors' schedules can be booked really fast, and especially on the mid and final terms because everybody wants to see writing tutors around that time. If you wait to schedule appointments until you are actually ready to see them, by the time, appointments may not be available. And you may get frustrated that you end up not being able to see them before you submit the assignments. And whether you are an international student or native English speaker, you should definitely see writing tutors so they can suggest you how to improve your paper and find some grammatical mistakes that can save points from your grade. So planning out your schedule at the beginning of each semester can really help to reduce your stress. Second point is to schedule self-care time regularly. Self-care is so important and maybe more than you think. I don't think self-care is a luxury, but rather a necessity. Because we need self-care to be able to perform well. Being a nurse practitioner student requires writing a lot of papers, and you need self-care to be creative. And when you are stressed out, you may end up wasting your time staring at computer screens for hours and no good idea comes to your mind. That's why we need to schedule self-care time so we can continue to perform at our maximum. For me, exercise and sleep were very important forms of self-care. I surf at least 3-4 times a week nowadays, but even during the busiest time during the nurse practitioner program, I went surfing at least once a week. And by deciding, okay, I will finish writing a draft for this assignment by Saturday night so I can go surf on Sunday, I was motivated to work on the draft because I was looking forward to surf. And when I was actually able to be on time on schedule, I was so proud of myself and really enjoyed my self-care time, which was surfing, and felt motivated to do another assignment. And self-care time doesn't have to take too long. It can be 20 or 30 minutes. But it's really important to schedule self-care time in the beginning instead of I'll just take time whenever I can, which will never happen. I hope you are enjoying this episode. Before we go back, I want to quickly mention that I'm giving a gift to you for listening to this episode. I'm giving a free PDF nurse practitioner job interview prep checklist. This checklist is full of questions that you're likely to be asked during job interviews as a nurse practitioner and some tips on how to prepare for them. With this downloadable PDF, you can prepare for interviews well so you feel confident and stand out from other candidates to get the job that you really want. To get this free PDF nurse practitioner job interview prep checklist, you can go to usa.jnpproject.com/interview. Again, usa.jnpproject.com/interview. Now, let's get back to the episode. Third tip is to be in touch with your nurse practitioner friends. This is extremely important in managing stress during nurse practitioner programs. Stress from being a nurse practitioner student, a new grad, or even a nurse practitioner is unique, and your family and friends may not really understand what you're going through. Nurse practitioner friends can understand the stress of having to juggle multiple assignments and going through clinical rotation without explaining to them from the scratch, and it can help you to cope with the stress from the nurse practitioner program. As you might have watched some episodes where I interviewed my former classmates, I was super lucky to have them, and especially when I was going through the nurse practitioner program. We had study sessions on the weekends, weekdays, or checking on each other's progress, exchanging useful information, or just to hang out. I truly think they helped me to cope with the stress, and I don't think I could have done it without them. If you are in an online nurse practitioner program, as many do nowadays, I know this can be tough, but you can make a Facebook page to connect with your classmates and exchange information, meet up for drinks, or just to have study sessions. I encourage you to actively engage with your classmates because mental support from them can be extremely helpful, not only as a student, but also when you start working as a new grad nurse practitioner. Fourth tip is to limit time on social media. The last thing I will mention in this episode is to limit time on social media. When I was in a DNP program, I already have a permanent residency, so I worked full-time as a nurse practitioner, and balancing work and school was extremely stressful, and I felt like I didn't have enough time for anything. So I decided to change my passwords on social media like Facebook, so I wouldn't spend time on checking on the website, because I always felt bad after scrolling on Facebook for a while, like I wasted my time on something that is unimportant, and I could have used that time for self-care instead. I hope you learned something helpful from this episode. If you like this episode, please give me a thumbs up. I upload new episodes on topics that are helpful for student nurse practitioners, new grad nurse practitioners every Friday. So make sure to subscribe to my channel. Alright, I'll see you in the next episode. Aloha.